All right, so I just want to quickly cover the UV unwrapping process for the claptrap model. So I will load up that file really quickly. All right, so in class I went over what UV unwrapping means and why it's necessary to do it for your model, for your 3D model. So I will just go over the process of UV unwrapping now, and I won't go over again like why we need it because we all know that by now. All right, so let's get into it. So we do that, undo that. So I'm just gonna select my claptrap model, hit Shift I to isolate the model so that I know that's what I'm working with. Okay. So before I do anything, I'm going to make sure that this tab up here is set to modeling. Okay, so that way you can access your UV unwrapping window. Okay, so let's click on UV and then go down to where it says planar. Click on this option box and let's do a couple of checks. Let's reset my settings. So by default, this should be what you see if you're opening up your UV editor for the first time ever, or sorry, your UV planar mapping options. So in this window, let's just, instead of axis, let's click on the option for camera, and then let's check on keep image width and height ratio box. So check this and check that, and then we're done. And once we're done, click on edit and click on save settings. And that will save that settings for you. Okay, so now let's get into modeling this robot. Or sorry, modeling UV unwrapping this robot, this body. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to click to select the robot body. Then I'm going to hold down space and then left mouse button down and drag down to front view. Just like that. Then I am in the orthographic front view for my robot. Okay? So while I'm in the front view, I'm going to click on UV and UV editor to open that up. And let me scale this down so we can see both, so you guys can see both screen at the same time. All right, this perfect. Move this over maybe just a tad bit more. All right, so you can see here that my robot has UVs already, so I'm actually going to delete this and start over so you guys can watch and follow along. I'm just going to select and delete that, so now my robot has no UVs, okay? So the first thing I want to do is in object mode, click and select my robot, and then go to UV and click on planar. Okay, make sure that you're in the front view before you do this. Okay, so that will make a UV map for me here for my robot. And then the next thing I'm going to do is go to perspective view. Okay, I'm actually going to click on this icon here to turn that like this kind of shaded view off. And I'm actually going to change the color of my model back to gray so I can see it a little better, like so. Okay. Now select my model, and I'm going to go into edge mode, and I am just going to click on these edges. So this one, and I'll hold shift and double click to select the edge loop here. You see select all the way around, and then so that won't be a perfect edge loop. So I can click on this and double click. That will select the next edge loop. And I'll do the same thing here. Hold down shift, click once, double click. It'll select all these edges. So just pan your camera around, make sure all your edges are selected, like so. So that's all the top edges selected, right? With those edges selected, I'm going to move my mouse, make sure your mouse is back in the UV editor window. I'm going to hold down Shift, right mouse button down, and drag to where it says cut. Like that. And once it's cut, you'll see now that if I go to object mode, and with the robot selected, you'll see that where the edges that I just selected and did a cut, they are now white, and that signifies it is where the seam of that mesh is at now. Okay? Now, in your editor view, right mouse button down, drag over to where it says UV. You'll see that it turns green, blue. And now you can hover over and double click, and that will select what is called your UV shell. Okay? So because we cut the top out, the top is now separated from the rest of the UV shell. So you see here, you can select that's the body, and this is, and you can kind of see them getting highlighted here in the window. So now that's the top view. So double click that, right? And then I'm going to hold down Shift, right mouse button down, and go to the left where it says unfold, like that. And if you drag your mouse further out, it will pop out another secondary menu. And then I'm going to do a unfold along V, okay? And that will kind of flip it vertically, like so. Okay? So that's fine and dandy. I am going to do another unfold. So with the UVs already selected, and I did that unfold vertically, I'm going to hold down Shift, right mouse button down again, go to unfold, but this time I'm going to do unfold along U. Okay, so that's done. And now your top piece is done, and you can check that by, let me just drag this out just a bit more so we can expand this menu here. Okay, and that is, if you click on this gray checkbox, you will see that your top piece is now all nice and checkerboard, and that is a telltale sign that your UV is correct, so that everything is a nice checkerboard pattern, like so. Okay. Now that we did the top piece, we'll go ahead and do the bottom piece. So let's go do that. So to do that, I'm going to get back to face mode, or go to face mode, and select these bottom faces, and I will select this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. And again, you guys make sure you are being careful with your selection. One, make sure that your camera-based selection is on. I had it off, but I was being extra careful because you don't want to accidentally click and drag like that with your camera-based selection off, because what happened is you'll end up selecting faces that are like on the other side. You don't want that. So just to be safe, make sure your camera-based selection is on. And to be extra safe, I don't normally drag. You can, but I just like click once at a time. Okay. And now click these faces here. I'll select these faces here, these faces, these faces, these faces, and yeah, I think that will be all the faces I select. And once I am done with that, I am going to hold down the space bar, right mouse button down, and go to the bottom view, like so. Okay. In the bottom view here, you're going to go to UV, click on planar, and that will generate a bottom view of your UV. Okay. So you can hit the W key to access the move tool and move it over, like so. All right, now I'm going to go to UV mode, double click to click on one of the UVs and just double click on one of the UV to select the entire UV shell, and I'm just going to do the same thing I did here. But this time, instead of doing a vertical unfold first, I'm going to do a horizontal unfold first. So I do an unfold along U, then I'm going to do an unfold along V, like so. And that is my bottom piece. My apologies for the Discord notification. I'm just going to turn this off really quick. So there you go. And that's your bottom piece. Okay. Now the only one we have left is the middle piece. So let's go do that. So to do that, we just need to make a cut down the middle of the robot and unfold it horizontally. So let's do that. So here's our robot, and we'll go to Edge, click, and select the one edge. And if you click and if you double click the other edge, so if you want to select from this edge to this edge, so one way you can do it is just, hold down Shift and select all these edges like this. But if you want, you can select the first edge in your edge loops, in your sort of edge loops here, and you can select the last edge in your edge selection, and on that last edge you can double click it. Oh, sorry, let me do it again. So select one and hold down Shift and double click on the last edge that you want to be like part of your edge selection. Double click and it will select every edge in between. Okay. So with that being said, I am going to, with the edge selected, or edges selected, I'm going to make sure my mouse is in the UV editor window again. Hold down Shift, right mouse button down, and go to where it says cut, and that will make a cut in my UV. And again, you can see that now it's signified by this white line down the middle. I'm just going to go to UV, double click on the UV to select my mesh, hold down Shift, right mouse button down, go to unfold, then unfold along U, and that will unfold my model horizontally. Okay. The next thing I want to do is run another unfold, but this time I will do it unfold along V or vertically. And let's check our UVs. So far so good. It's a little bit stretched toward the top, and some stretching is okay as long as it's not a lot of stretching. So I'm noticing here there's a bit of stretchiness here. And in reality, this portion of the robot is like hidden by another piece on top of it. Like unhide that. See that this portion is more or less hidden, and same with the front. So you might not see this stretchiness that's in the corner, but for this exercise, let's try to fix it all the way around. So we can do that by sort of cutting this portion out. So we can go to Etch mode and just again select all the edges that we want to cut out, like so. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing to the back, because I guess the back is also a little bit stretched as well. So double click, select an off edge. So, oops, right. Something like that will work. Let me double check here so I don't have extra edges selected. So let me do that and that. That's pretty good. I am going to, once again, be in here and do a cut like so. Now I can, and because remember we have a line down the middle, that's why you have two pieces over here for this middle piece in the back, like that, and we can UV unfold them. So with U, and do a V, and that should be fairly good. Yeah, that's all right. And let's go to the front piece. Now we'll do this piece in the front. So that's right here. See, it's highlighted white around here. So double click to select and kind of move that out of the way. And again, I'm just going to do a UV unfold along U like that, and then I'm going to do a UV along V. Hit again, you'll see that it is now much better. Okay? So, and the last thing I want to show that I did not show in class was because I didn't cut this back piece out in class, um, is I will want to kind of stitch these two pieces back together to one piece. And we can do that using the Smooth and Sew tool. So select your edge, and you'll see that if you hover over one, it'll highlight the other, meaning it's where these edges are meant to meet. So you can select the whole edge. You see that's like the one that's cut down the middle here. Go to hold down Shift, then right mouse button down with all your edges selected. Then go to Move and Sew Edges, like so. So do as the name suggests, move and sew those edges back together. All right, so I can rotate this a little bit. Oops, sorry. Make sure I'm in UV mode. Select the whole UV. Some kind of bug with my viewport actually. Yeah, this rotate it a little bit. So, and let's check my stretchiness here, and let's do another unwrap now that they're joined together. There we go. That was pretty good. I'm happy with this. So now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shells for your UVs, and depending on the piece, you can have less or more, or how much time you want to spend to sort of fine tune this UV. There's a couple of different ways you can UV unwrap this piece, but this is the way I choose. Okay. So once all your UVs are done, you can kind of place them all together back into the 0 to, if you, let me move this out of the way really quickly. Let's show you guys what I mean. Zoom, make this big. So every UV grid, when you start, it's this the origin is same with the 3D view. It's like this axis, your x-axis and your y-axis, and then it goes from 0 to 1, 0 to 1, and then you kind of see the value repeats themselves to 1.1 to 2. Make sure that your UVs always fit in the first 0 to 1 by 0 to 1 square, because otherwise it won't work. So so you can always select your UVs and scale them down and move them in to make sure they fit. But a quick way to make sure that all your UVs fit is grab and select all your UV shelves. Click and drag and grab all of them. And you can go to Modify, click on Layout, and by default, it does a pretty good job of fitting your UV shell into your one-to-one like UV square. But sometimes they're a little like finicky. Like this is right on the edge of it, and I like to give the UVs a little bit of room to breathe. So I just, with all the UV cells selected like this, I just hit the R key and I scale them down all together just a little bit, so they have some room to breathe. And that should be good to go. And that is sort of the basic of UV. And just a heads up that in class I kind of showed the importance of why we don't have hidden face and things like that. If you have hidden faces and like hidden edges via like a faulty extrude, like didn't extrude and do nothing to it, that will mess up your UV. So just do the best you can and make sure your mesh is sort of quote unquote clean before you do your UV unwrapping. Okay. Alrighty. That's it for UV, and I hope you find this tutorial useful. Thank you.